Welcome to another episode of the Lords of Consciousness podcast videocast. I am your host, Clint Culberson, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. His name is Tom Price, and Tom is an author of the book Getting Aligned for the Planetary Transformation Happening Now. And he's also the man behind the planetdailynews.com and the very popular YouTube channel, The Positive Side of 2012. Tom, welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Clint, for having me. You invited me probably a year ago or so, and I wanted to wait until I had a little more tenure under my belt and understood who I am and what my platform is, primarily on the YouTube channel. So here we are with 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, in fact, I checked today. You're over 13,000 right now. So, and the reason that you've been gaining so much traction is you're talking about topics that people are really, really interested in, and topics that are seldom talked about. In your book, and your website, and your YouTube channel. I mean, in many ways, it's all one encompassing message. You talk a lot about this transformation that's going on the planet right now. And specifically, even what is the 2012, the Mayan calendar that we all experience, and wow, the world didn't end after that day, but you're one that's really helped everyone understand it and from a bigger perspective, what's really going on.
Well, that's true, and I spent a lifetime trying to figure out what's going on, so we're not going to go over all of that.
Right.
Primarily, what I've learned is that it's a mathematical event, and my goal is to use that as an avenue for communicating to people, because it's non-confrontational, it's not religious, or things like that. I'm not some yoga guru talking about weird stuff. I try to keep everything in a framework of simplicity and with the math, with sacred geometry guiding us. And with that in mind, make people aware that this thing has to happen. It's got to happen. And so it is happening. Mm-hmm. So I try my best to give people a very simple framework of what's going on. If I have to fib a little bit here and there to kind of tweak things, I do that, so recognizing that everybody's in elementary school.
Right.
And so I give them a platform, a framework by which they can judge things by. If they want to judge, disagree a little bit here and there, they can. But at least they've got a solid foundation to go by.
Right. So, you have an emphasis on this. Your channel is called The Positive Side of 2012. Many people in this day and age are feeling like things are going to hell in a handbasket. Like they have a real pessimistic view on the world. Yeah, your channel's called The Positive Side. Can you kind of explain why are these events that are taking place, even the ones seemingly on our mainstream media, actually leading us towards something that is beyond positive, quite heavenly, actually?
Well, first of all, the channel name, The Positive Side of 2012, was me looking at the other side of 2012, thinking there's good things happening literally on that side of the date. To answer your question wholly, though, is we all know these phrases. Crisis creates change, or change creates crisis. Mm-hmm. And that's really the bottom line answer to your question. Things are changing, and they just appear nuts. If all of a sudden you run your house a certain way, or say a new stepdad comes in, he's really a good guy, everybody's freaking out. Yeah. But in the long run, it's all working out. So that's exactly what's happening here. Chaos or crisis, well, change creates crisis, like is the better way of saying it. Mm-hmm. So all of this craziness is happening, and behind it all is the chaos is indeed unfolding according to a much higher plan. Mm-hmm. What people don't realize is that we're getting a lot of help in this transition. And we can go into that. But this chaos, among all the chaos, and a lot of that is, the conspiracy theories and the government and deep state and all this crazy stuff going all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, among all of that are people, humans, and I consider myself one of them, although nobody has come to me and thanked me, and you as well, among all of that, that's called the deep state, the bad stuff going on, is indeed a whole force of people being inspired to help the world improve. And I mean physically improve. They get up in the morning and do things such as, we'll talk about later about the currency reset and other such tangible things. People are actually doing things. They're getting out of bed and doing things. You just don't know about it,
mm-hmm.
because in some cases it's hidden, in the government-wise it's hidden. But in other cases, it's just people getting up and doing like me, doing what they feel they need to do. And you're being inspired by whatever forces above. And so overall, there's an entire new change, a wave happening of people actually getting up in the morning, eating breakfast, and then getting to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for people even just like you and me who are kind of in I'll call it the media side of things, our own version of media, we find that the mainstream narrative is only telling one side of the story. And I think you can see how over the last 10 years, the alternative media has emerged. And then even just the idea of, individuals sharing knowledge that they know and then sharing it to the world. And it's starting to really make a big difference. One of the things that you talk about, I want to discuss, about this idea of we're coming up on a magic day, and you share this magic day term a lot on your channel. And I was hoping you could maybe from your perspective describe what we're coming to. I mean, I know you attempt to steer clear of religious dogma, and that's not your cup of tea, but at the same time, a lot of the religious texts were giving us breadcrumbs all along the way. I mean, some of these prophecies were there. I mean, the prophecies in multiple different religions scattered all throughout the world long before we were connected electronically, yet they're talking about the same stuff.
Yes, they are. And a part of the plan is the web. It's amazing how the web has been able to do that. Mm-hmm. I'll just say the web is no accident.
Yeah, exactly.
For that reason, stuff can travel around the world in a few seconds. The magic day, that's what I call it. Gordon Asher Davidson, who I quote a lot, calls it the day of revelations. Mm-hmm. And in Christian terminology, they either call it the rapture or the day Jesus comes back. I think they recognize there's two dates. I'm not quite sure. Nonetheless, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about, I call it a magic day. And again, and what I hope to do with my work is help all these different groups come together and realize we're all talking, just like you said, we're all talking the same thing. Mm-hmm. And the magic day specifically is, as I've said over and over, it has to be. It is literally a mathematical event. It is a Fibonacci event. As I talk about on the channel, as an example, you have your fingers, length of your knuckles, 2, 3, 5, and 8, and 13. And if you check out almost any video, it'll lead you to a place where you can learn about that. Mm-hmm. You'll learn that's Fibonacci growth. And so this transition is nothing more than us going through a normal, everyday Fibonacci growth in the universe. Now, you know how, for example, Fibonacci, how your teenage son all of a sudden shoots up?
Mm-hmm. I got two of them. So.
He's going from here to there, and all of a sudden, like, oh my God, what happened? Okay, that's exactly what happened to him. Boing, he shot up. Yep. Everything grows in quantum steps in the universe. Everything does. It's just the way it is. That's sacred geometry. And we are going through the magic day is when we go boink, just like your teenager jumping up a foot in a year or whatever he does. Mm-hmm. Boink, that's exactly what we're doing. the universe is expanding. Everyone kind of says those words now, whether they really realize what it means or not. The universe is expanding. And I quote Lawrence Krauss a lot. He wrote the book, A Universe from Nothing. He's a universe professor of physics, and many people are working in the world of physics. Mm-hmm. And the Nobel Prize was given out, as he speaks of in his seminars. The Nobel Prize was given out for scientists recently who said that, the universe is expanding, but also more so, they said that the energy, literally the energy, that energy has to come from somewhere. And as a chemical engineer, that's what my background is. And one of our main laws that we use in engineering is energy is conserved. And I'm pleased to report that the same thing is true in the universe. A lot of other mathematical stuff doesn't work when you get to these weird Einstein stuff, but the conservation of energy does. And what that means is the universe is expanding, and that energy has to come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And what they found out is it comes from the darkness of space. That's literally, in 3 words or less, a sink of energy. That's another whole discussion. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, that energy is what's supplying us, just like it's be supplying your teenage son to grow. He's got to eat food. Well, that's the food. It comes from that darkness of space. And that energy source is what's going to feed us, going boink, jumping up. And what's going to happen on the magic day is, or your teenage son will increase in height. And as I talk about on the channel, I almost have to tell you this technical intermediate spot here. An electron, when I was in school, the atom was a nucleus surrounded by a bunch of electrons. And we were taught that the electrons can only exist in orbits A or B or C. There's nothing in between. And you're like, what the heck's going on? This made no sense at all in school. And then they proceed to give us zillions of equations and all this stuff to solve. And I'm still back there like, what are you talking about? Well, that's the way I now understand. The electrons are normally in orbit A around the atom, then they jump to orbit B. And that's literally a Fibonacci jump in energy. And that's exactly what we're doing on the magic day. It's a mathematical event. So just exactly like the electron jumping up into a higher energy state, and then a higher energy state, then a higher energy state. That's quantum physics. That's what quantum physics is. It's recognizing things happen in steps. So quantum physics already recognized that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. They just didn't realize it was the Fibonacci. And that's what we're doing. But the difference is, we're not a kid jumping up 3 feet in height, and we're not an electron doing this. We're going to increase our vibration. Mm-hmm. We are going to, your body, your DNA, you're literally going to absorb energy from the universe, from that dark matter. Mm-hmm. How it gets there is another whole issue, but nonetheless, you're going to absorb that energy. And so your energy to mass ratio is going to increase. You're going to be like a balloon blowing up, but what's increasing you is energy. And as a result of that, you vibrate at a higher frequency. Right. Those words are very strange, and what does that mean? Right. But nonetheless, what it means is we're vibrating at a higher frequency, and the bottom line of all of that is we are what's called being in the heart. We will be able to be of complete unity consciousness, and we will be one. We'll be one with God in religious terms. Right. We'll all be one, and we'll all be, when we get up in the morning, we will care about the whole of mankind. There will no longer be any selfishness. And that's what happens when you increase your vibration to the certain level where we're going. And that's what will happen on the magic day.
And you speak a lot about this transformation from duality consciousness on one hand, this is what we've been living in for, recorded history, I suppose, to now coming into this unity consciousness. Can you kind of just explain the general overview of the difference between the two?
Sure. Each of these is a 3-hour seminar.
Right. You're
duality
101.
consciousness. What happened was eons ago. This relates to Lucifer, a very controversial subject that people don't understand. And when I talk about these things, you have to understand my definition of Lucifer, my definition of Satan, and all those things have specific definitions. A lot of people, the problem is people argue about them because they're arguing about different things because they have different definitions for these same terms. What happened to us was eons ago, we were allowed to have duality consciousness. And the reason is because if we're all of unity consciousness, if everybody gets up in the morning, just the world is a wonderful place, everybody is concerned about the whole, apparently we don't grow a lot. We become a little wiser, knowing what we're doing. But as far as actual growth goes, as a species, it's sort of stopped in 3 words or less. Here's an example of me keeping things simple, okay? You can argue with me, but understand what I'm saying, and you can argue from there. So to keep it short, we were allowed to have duality consciousness, which in turn allows us to have an ego. So suddenly we have an ego, potentially a very greedy piece to our existence, as well as a heart, instead of just a heart. So having an ego as well as a heart, and that's what the terrible twos is, to bring it home to people. The kids are wonderful, and all of a sudden they discover this third chakra, which is your ego, and all of a sudden they got the terrible twos. So we were allowed to have that, and try to learn to see that these experiments always fail according to Juvelo Melchizedek. So it's allowed to happen occasionally in the universe, that people are allowed to have, species are allowed to have an ego as well as a heart.
So it's a rare thing, is what you're saying?
It's very rare in the universe. And what I've concluded that it is it's us going to school. Right. It's kind of like us going to college, us going to school. We got to put up with all the stuff we're putting up with, and it's all around us, all the crap we're dealing with. But as a result, as we've learned to deal with it, and we learn to communicate with feelings, there's all kinds of things. All the therapists, it's really a large part of therapy work is helping people deal with that. Well, as a result, you've dealt with it. And as a species, we've become tremendously smarter. So after we, die and move on to other lifetimes, we, as a species, were tremendously smarter. So in this 2012 cycle, on a magic day, is when that goes away. So we're getting back to where we belong. We're getting back to where we truly belong. And those people who are totally ego, you can go on TV almost and see them every day, all the time on TV. They're going to go to another place where they will be, it's all unity consciousness. The solution is unity consciousness solution. So those who are capable of being in unity consciousness will remain here on Earth and see it become a magical, beautiful place. And we'll be able to use our consciousness to create miracles. And those who are of ego, who just can't get it together, they'll be taken to another location and go back to school. They'll go back to the grade where they belong and they'll be worked with there in a unity consciousness fashion. And eventually they'll catch up to us. And an example of the Bible, excuse me, one more thing here.
Oh, no,
example of the Bible I just learned, because I sat through a 16-part series, a wonderful series on a church next door to me, on a 16-part series on Revelations, etc.
Wow.
And there, I missed this one class early on. I was rebellious. I want to get to good stuff later, so I missed a couple of classes. I missed this class, and I'm upset I did now. What they explained in that class was that those who are of ego, in my language, the Bible says they will stay in their graves for another 1,000 years, and then they'll rejoin us.
Do you visualize that as like a divergent timeline almost like you know how this idea of the Mandela effect is happening right now? I mean, is this related to potentially what we're headed towards, where all of a sudden those people are I mean, I'm not even sure how it would be, but do they go somewhere else in terms of do we remember them? Do we forget them? How does that work? Do you have any idea? I mean, is there any teachings towards this?
They go to the astral planes.
Oh, okay.
Which is, they go to whenever we die now, we go to the astral planes. And we go there, and it's a place where you hang out, where you are comfortable with. If you like, well, that's a whole long story about that. But the bottom line is, you go there, and if you want a nice house, you got it. If you want a beautiful horse, you got it. If you want flowers in the front yard, you got it. Okay, anything physically you want, you got on the astral planes. As I always say, playing baseball, hitting a home run is boring because you hit home run. So I was like, this is no fun. So what do? So before I got really educated on the 2012 part of things, I was trying to figure out all that. Mm-hmm. And what I realized then, it was actually right, I couldn't believe it, was that all your physical things are met. So what's left? Well, you got to deal with the emotional luggage. You still had problems with, your mother or your father or some friend. You brought all that luggage, emotional luggage, with you. So on the astral planes, 7 levels there, you end up going to the place where you are most comfortable with. If you're Einstein, you got to go to a higher level. If you're really religious, a cardinal, you die, you're going to go to another place. If you're just an everyday person, you're going to go to another place. So you go there and hang out where you belong, so that you can finish working out your emotional issues. So in the case of really bad ego people, the mafia, they're going to go to the lowest level on the astral plane, like level number 1. And that's basically a level you go there and you're like, what is this? I won't use any cuss words, but I'm sure they'll use cuss words. What is this? Because they imagine eating, so they're eating, but they can't taste it. Mm-hmm. They have sex, but they don't feel anything. Right. So all of a sudden, all these egotistical things, if you think about it, it doesn't take much. All these egotistical things, sex, money, eating in restaurants, you can do all those things, but there's absolutely no taste, no feeling, no nothing. So that's, ground level 1, that's first grade, and trying to learn to live in unity consciousness, that those things don't matter. So they go there, and the Bible says 1,000 years. I don't know if it's 1,000 years or if time, maybe towards your question, maybe time, even time itself changes, 1,000 years Bible language may really mean, who knows? Right. They're gonna catch up to us. They may spend 1,000 years. We may spend 1 year, and they'll catch up to us after that. Who knows? I don't know the answer to those highly technical questions. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, we're doing the best we can, putting the puzzle pieces together. There's many of us trying to do it. And there's only 24 hours in a day, so from one perspective, you can only take in so much. And of course, we're talking about things that are, gosh, man, not of this 5 sense reality in many ways, and things that have been prophesied about for thousands of years. And part of that is you talk about how this is not the first time we've done this, that this is some sort of galactic cycle that we go through. This isn't the first 2012. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that idea? Well, yeah. To understand that, you want to go back to the Mayans. Mm-hmm. Now, we've been as a species on this planet for 200,000 years. Homo sapiens or sapiens, whatever it is, came out of nowhere. And there's a reason for that. And since then, it's amazing. Right after that is when they were assisted by higher beings. And so what's the word? A hierarchy was set up. It's not religious, for lack of a better word, I'll call it religious. Hierarchy was set up. And at that time, the go-betweens were the Lemurians, but then later on, it became the Mayans. So the Mayans became the priesthood. What was your question again? I got lost.
In terms of the galactic cycles, the 26,000 years.
Yeah. The Mayans are the ones you want to pay attention to. So you want to Google the Mayans or learn about the Mayans, because the Mayans have been assigned, among other things, to be the keepers of time.
Right.
And they have been through these cycles several times. You take 200,000 years and divide it by 26,000 or by 12,000 years, and there's, I don't know how many they've been through, but more than a couple. And so they know from experience what to expect. And
within a 26,000 year cycle, do we go through this light darkness thing? I mean, are we going away from the center? I think I've seen it this way, where we go away from the center of our galaxy, or and then as we go away, our consciousness we go back into that kind of duality. We're fighting and killing each other, and then we come back in and we return to a unity, and then somehow there must be some fall again. Or I'm just curious what you know.
I think it's off my opinion. I think it's just different levels of unity consciousness, learning more and more and more and more and more and more and more. As far as duality goes, that's history. That was like I said, it happens occasionally, as Junval's words, in the universe. So it essentially never happens, the duality thing.
Right.
So you can forget about that. It's really just learning to be of total unity consciousness. And when we make our change, I'm not sure just how, on a magic day, just how unity conscious we will be on that particular day. I think it's going to take us time. We're probably going to want to speed us, we're going to be in an expedited schoolroom. That's what NASERA is, in my opinion. So we're going to be expedited a little bit because of all the crap we've been putting up with this duality consciousness.
Right.
But like in Atlantis, which is very real, they were somewhat evolved. They were, let's say if we're going to 12th grade here, graduating 12th grade, they were probably, say, in 3rd or 4th grade on Atlantis. And so they'd already bumped up a little bit. Maybe, according to Junvalo, if we don't succeed this time, which we will, there's nothing to worry about there, but if we don't succeed this time, it's going to take 100,000 years for us to get back where we should be. Wow. So getting to the 5th dimension, where we're headed, just in round numbers, my assumption there is it takes, from scratch, a species just starting from scratch, takes 100,000 years to go from 0 to the 5th dimension, and probably another 100,000 years or so to go from there to even higher levels. So it's quite a long time, and you're just in school the whole time, learning more and more and more to be of unity consciousness. I mean, just imagine a dog. Probably dogs might be more advanced than we are. Maybe a spider. Yeah, maybe a spider. How long does it take a spider to go to unity consciousness? I don't know, but 100,000 years.
Right. You talk often about the Light Alliance and the fact that we, throughout human history, we have been helped by higher dimensional beings, whether they be off planet or just interdimensional, or I'm not even, we interviewed Tolek, which I know you heard a little bit of that interview, and we're talking about people who are in direct communication with entities from elsewhere, and can you kind of just for those who aren't aware of it, what does that mean? What is their influence on us? What are the rules that they have with us in terms of how much I don't want to say interference, but how much help can they give us?
Well, they've done quite a bit. On the whole, the requirement is, I'm going to talk about what they're doing and not necessarily who they are.
Right.
That's your answer to your question. We're being helped by higher beings, and those are people who are living on another frequency, even higher frequencies than the fifth. And just for the record, those folks were lucky enough not to be caught up in this duality consciousness stuff. They bypassed it. So but nonetheless, what was the question again? How do we communicate?
Now, can you basically just give us the Light Alliance 101? I know you say you don't want to say who they are per se, but what are they up to, and how much can they influence?
Well, briefly speaking, there's it's not unlike Star Wars. There's different levels. There's councils, literally councils, according to Gordon Asher Davidson, where this comes from. There's councils on the solar level, there's councils on the galactic level, and there's councils on the 7 galaxy level. Councils, they meet.
Yeah.
And then there's other councils here on Earth. And they are allowed to work through unity consciousness to help us. And they have been all along. Forever. They've been helping us all along. Most of that has been, and your positive thinking books are testimony to that. Positive thinking books tell you if you do the right things, magic things will happen to you.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's unity consciousness at work. In all of those positive thinking books, you're required to give thanks, recognize there's something out there, you're, etc. You're required to have clear goals. I can go on for a long time on that. So we've been helped for a long time. And in a unity consciousness fashion, and even in some cases, these higher beings have showed up here in rare cases on Earth, and actually been people for a while. But for the most part, they are influencing people at night, in 3 words or less. That's for me. I get my intuitive hits. Certain things I do in order to get intuitive hits, and lo and behold, here they come.
Yep.
I get clarity on things. So a lot of work is being done that way. Most of it's done that way. And the big exception, though, here is with with this duality consciousness, and how we've been completely exacerbatingly, is that a good word? Overtaken by these bad guys. It's horrible, the stuff they've done. 9/11 was no accident.
Right.
There's absolutely no remorse, no nothing for these guys. And so there needed to be, to get us ready for this magic day, there needed to be some level of intervention. And by intervention, I mean not via our free will. All the stuff I've talked about has been free will. Yeah, they can influence my intuition, but I've got to be the one, hey, I'm trying to work on this problem, or I'm working on the currency reset. And some voice in the middle of the night would say, hey, you gotta try this, try that. They can prompt you, but as far as actually physically doing the things themselves and not you doing it, that's not allowed. That's not unity consciousness. They have to observe our free will. Okay, and free will is the duality consciousness. We have the ego and we have the heart. As good or bad as that combination is, that's also free will. And so they have to work through our free will 99% of the time. But at this particular moment in time, since we're getting ready for this transition, after 9/11, it was actually 9/11 did it. The council that's really the Earth Council, not the galaxy or the solar, it was actually council on the Earth.
Right.
They said, we thought we could handle it. We can't handle it. And they asked for help. And so they got it. And so the intervention has occurred. Primarily, the intervention is over, and 2 or 3 or 4 things happen. Do you want to hear those?
Of course.
Oh, okay. The primary one is that the upper levels of the bad guys, the power structure is gone. At
Now
the
you're,
highest level,
and you're talking not of this earth, correct?
the bad guys.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
level,
yeah.
that particular level.
Well, you asked for it, so you got it.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
the highest level of the bad guys. See what happens? We got duality consciousness, and these entities in the universe, go around looking for that, just like crooks here.
Mm-hmm.
They go around looking for vulnerable people, and so they found this duality consciousness here, and it's like, oh, cool. Meet them up. I mean, that's flat out, literally, what happened. There's no spiritualness to it all. It's just some bad guy showing up to rob you.
Right.
You sees an open garage. It's like, boom, let's go. So there's 50. One person says 50, another one says 100. But there's these 50 of these entities that grouped together like a gang and came here and started the whole thing. And then they recruited, since they were not of physicalness, they're not here. They're of spirit. Another dimension where we're going, kind of thing. They're of another dimension, and so they needed people here physically to do the work that they wanted to do. And now those original invisible, I call them aliens, invisible aliens. Their lifetime is millions of years. They're in no hurry at all.
Right.
They just want to come and attack the duality consciousness. So they recruited very smart extraterrestrials, and these are the reptilians and several other species. But again, those species, are not all bad. It's just they got their really bad crooks out of those species, and
right.
Some of those species
right.
make really bad crooks, just like we make really good slaves. Another whole issue. So they found these good ETs who were crooks, and through etheric meetings. Now, it sounds like the devil. It is. I mean, I've called over and over. I've claimed with 100% certainty, I'm the only one doing it, that these 50 aliens at the top are the devil that Jesus talks about in the Bible.
Yeah.
So they're there. You got the smart ETs, and then you got the humans, the Rothschilds, and all the conspiracy stuff going on below that. So the intervention was they took out, in 3 words to this, they took out the 50 aliens. They're gone. They were moved to another place. They're just long gone. They're not here. And same goes for the bad ETs. They're just removed.
Yep.
So that means the etheric meetings are removed. So the power structure of the bad guys is gone. So now you have the Rothschilds and the like. They're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and they know it. And that happened in 2002. Most of it happened in 2002, following 9/11, when the people in charge of our Earth literally said we need help. So they came in, they got rid of the 50 aliens. And then that was in 2002. Then between 2011 and 2012 or so is when all these underground bases were destroyed. And I'm pretty sure that's when all the bad ETs were finally gone. It was 2012, 2011, 2012. And other than that, they're protecting us from any catastrophes. So we're still under free will. So given that they did these couple of intervention items, they said, okay, we're done. Now it's free will again. So we're back to free will. So they can only operate through our free will, with a couple of exceptions. And one is that the galactics, these are the spaceships running around. They're all good spaceships running around now, and extraterrestrials. And they are protecting us from any catastrophes. If the bad guys want to go and send out a nuclear bomb, it's not going to happen. The nuclear radiation, we're being protected against. The chemtrails, they're being neutralized. And what I mean by that with the radiation and chemtrails is that it's like a computer. It's just deleted. It's just as if it never existed in the first place. So they can spray the chemtrails, and we can take all the measurements we want. But as far as it impacting human bodies and animal life anywhere, it's not happening. So that are these fifth dimensional Pleiadians, these extraterrestrials, are literally seeing a radiation here, a chemtrails here, and saying boink, 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 boink. It's like hitting the delete button on your computer. It's just not there. So we're being protected from natural catastrophes, as well as from any catastrophes by the bad guys.
Right.
And meanwhile, we're still having wars in the Middle East and all this stuff that, we've chosen. We've chosen these leaders, and we got to put up with a lot of that stuff.
And I've heard you say this before in some of your videos, though, that the timeline that we're on is strictly based on our own free will choice. Like you said, we're the ones that are choosing the Donald Trumps of the world. Even if Donald Trump is potentially fighting against some sort of globalist entity, he's still a guy that's like totally in the ego space. I mean, he's not Gandhi or anything like that. I mean, if it was Gandhi who was the president of the United States, we'd feel like the magic day might be right around the corner, right? But in many ways, until more of us wake up, and like you said, many of us need to wake up through chaos. And hell, Donald Trump's he's chaos personified. He's in many ways he's like a big wrecking ball, smashing through everything to wake us up, maybe, And so it's can you kind of just elaborate a little bit on that, like as in terms of the timeline is based on the number of us who are ready for it, if that makes sense.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm no expert on the timeline on when it's going to happen. I don't claim to be. I don't like putting dates on it.
No, forget that.
As time has gone by, and actually, Drunvalo been quiet for a few years. Drunvalo Melchizedek, quiet for a few years, but he did an interview recently, and even he said that they can change time. And I'm like, okay. So in my opinion, number one, we've made it. There's no doubt at all we've made it. Again, we have to, like your teenage growing, we got to get enough energy and go. We got to be able to do that. So in 3 words or less, we've made that part of it. And so that part I can say with pretty much with total confidence. And then the other thing is that we are since we've been put up with so much crap over the millennium here, thanks to the bad guys, that, as I've said, if anyone's in the heart just a little bit, I'm not sure what a little bit is, but if you show a little bit, you're going to be grandfathered in. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. So what was the question again?
You answered it basically. You basically answered it. I was just saying in terms of enough of us waking up to the day will happen once. When we're
let me finish.
Ready.
I got it. Yeah, I think the answer there, my answer there is that what makes sense. Again, I'm not a channeler or any of those things. It's just an intuition. And what if you were to light a lines, what would make sense? Well, they're under unity consciousness, and they got to work through our free will. That's how it is now. So it would make sense just with those 2 premises that you're gonna give as many people as possible. Try to maximize the yield. Give as many people as possible the opportunity to go via Plan A as opposed to Plan B. So, in that sense, my opinion is that they're waiting on us to achieve that state, the maximum possible number of people awake. Now, other people will disagree with that, claiming we've already made it.
Right.
But I think that I think that's the case, and I'm teasing myself now about like currency resets and NASERA and all those topics. Like, because according to Gordon, are those going to happen before or after the magic? He doesn't know. I mean, he's been like, doesn't know, and like, so I think that an opinion today may change tomorrow, but my opinion today is that well, if we had a currency reset or something like that, really exciting time. Everybody would, oh, this is great, man. And And under the right circumstances, there's going to be like a honeymoon. Everybody's in a real high. Oh, this is great. There is a God. There is this bingo magic day right there. It's like a setting a hook on a fish. You wait till the right moment, do whatever you can, set the bait. That magic day. So I suspect, and I could be nuts, I suspect something like that would happen. So the answer to the question on those types of things, currency resets and like when, my guess, and it's a guess, is it's baiting the hook for the magic day.
You know, you've alluded to it with the remaining time that we have. Can you kind of just give a general overview of what NASERA is, and then also, you talk a lot about, not just you, but this, our channel does too as well. I mean, there is no conspiracy theory anymore. It is a big fat conspiracy. Okay, there is a group of people who've pretty much hijacked the planet in many ways, who've enslaved humanity with debt slavery. And now NASERA is something that is I don't know, is it the knight in shining armor that's coming in to save the day? I don't know, but what can you just give a general overview for anyone who's never even heard of the term, and what is it? When did it come to be? And I know it's a deep topic, but just with the remaining time we have.
No, not really. It's not that deep at all, I don't think. Again, I've thought about it intuitively, and that's my strength. But back to your conspiracy thing, yes. If you notice on Coast to Coast Radio, very much a conspiracy theorist channel, conspiracy theory channel. Right. They spent years talking about conspiracy theory. Now they don't talk about it anymore. So even Coast to Coast is evolving. Right. They're running a lot of this kind of stuff. Right. More new agey kind of stuff. So the evidence is there. So all the conspiracy theories, they're not theories anymore. They're all true.
I know. It's obvious.
So NASERA, well, I haven't run my video on this one yet, but what is going to happen is we're in the third dimension now, very physical world. And there's a fourth dimension, and then there's a fifth. So nobody's really talked about the fourth too much. And what I'm calling NASERA is our time in the fourth dimension. We're going to go through the magic day, and then we're going to go into the fourth. So all the bad people will be gone. It'll be just the good people there. And so we're going to have a period of school. We've been, living with crap all this time. Now we got to speed up. We got to do a lot in a few years. According to Toll, it's 12 years. I don't know what the timeline is. But there'll be a timeline where we're learning to be of unity consciousness and literally being trained. And I suspect, I got to do some more research before I run videos on this, but I suspect a lot of the trainers are going to be like the Crystal Kids and the other ones.
Indigo Children or whatever you want to say.
Indigo, Crystals, and another group. I forget the third group. But nonetheless, I suspect they're the ones, all of a sudden, they're going to be the leaders teaching us how to be of unity consciousness. So there's going to be groups all over the place helping people at the various levels they are to learn to live without money, to learn to be of unity consciousness is the real goal. And so what I'm calling NASERA, I'm probably the only one doing this, is that period. So again, intuition, what makes sense? Well, the whole money thing is made up by the bad guys. It's a control mechanism. No other extraterrestrial species in the universe has money. There might be an exception, but figuratively speaking, no one has it but us, because it's a control mechanism put in by the bad guys so they can control us. That's all it is. We don't need money. You can go to work and do the same thing today, and not get paid as long as all your needs are met. So that's kind of what the goal of the NASERA period is. So as part of that, one way or another, all the bad guys will be gone. And then we're all going to be dished money out because that's what we understand at the moment. We don't need it, but we're going to be given whatever money we need to live, and probably more. I don't know what the number is. All over the world.
And this is coming from a lot of the hidden wealth. I mean, because what's been happening is the cabal this deep state has been hoarding a lot of the wealth of the planet, correct? I mean, even Benjamin Fulford
Yeah,
talks about
yeah,
unleashing,
yeah.
like letting loose all this gold to all of humanity.
Yeah, the bottom line, at the end, talk about the end result will be that we have a gold-backed system. Why? Because we like gold. We think we need it. We're going to have a gold-backed system, and that's going to be used to generate a currency, and everybody gets some.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's some people talk about it, frame it in such a way that, we're going to take the bad guy's money and dish it out to us.
Right.
And how it's going to happen, how the report is written after the fact it's really up for debate. But yeah, if you like the thought, then we're going to take all the money they stole from us and give it back. In fact, people who have had money taken from them, this is in Gordon's book, or else he said this on his first Coast to Coast show way back in July of 2015, Gordon Asher Davidson. He said that people who have been ripped off, there'll be a place you can go and make a claim to get it back. So I don't know if that, that means you're just a victim of a crime, or if you've lost it all in the stock market because of some bad, whatever the case. And there'll be somebody standing guard there. If you try to pull a fast one, it's like the God's book. Remember, no, not you. You can go. But you can go there, and why would they do that? Well, it only makes sense. If I've got a lot of anger because somebody took all my money, robbed me to death, I can't be in the heart if I'm still, PO'd because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they can't give back a child you've lost or things like that. So I don't know how that's gonna be dealt with. I'm sure it will be dealt with. But in terms of money, you'll be able to go and get back money that you feel you've lost, not because you get the money, but because you emotionally you're better off thereafter and more inclined to be in fifth. So how it physically is distributed from who and to where is really just an academic conversation.
Right.
In the end, it's just gold. It's a gold-backed currency, and everybody's going to get some. And then eventually, we're going to, and that in turn, the irony is, everybody having money they can live with and no problem at all. Don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn to go out and just do what you normally love to do and help the world. And next thing you know, I don't need that money. I got all the food I need. The market you go to in the middle of town is free. Just go there and get what you want. You end up not needing the money.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. Not the goal, but if you can equate that with being of unity consciousness, then that's the goal of NASERA, to learn to live without money, which means you're learning to live for the whole.
Yeah, and we live on such an abundant planet that we can create so much abundance that we will discontinue the need for money. There won't be any need to exchange these dollars when, even with our technologies that we have in terms of, you can see where 3D printing is going, and you can see in terms of, in terms of food and water abundance. I mean, nature is so prolific in its multiplicity. So as we feed the world and we end this ridiculousness that we've experienced in terms of such, where half of the food we have just goes to waste, and yet there's a bunch of people that are millions and millions of us who are still struggling to know where our next meal is going to be. Actually, billions probably. And we live in beautiful times, Tom, and I'm so grateful that there's guys like you out there that are talking about these topics, and not just you're talking about that which is taking place. You're an evidence-based guy, and you do your best to really to prove that, and you often say, like, hey, this is me, Tom, now talking, so this part is my opinion, but oftentimes you're really just sharing evidence of other people who are sharing this, backing it up with as much science as you possibly can. Of course, obviously some of this is beyond the 5 sense sciences, and it's still something that even 5 sense science now is starting to realize, and especially when we get into the quantum world, that it's far beyond just that. And even our institutional science is starting to see that, wow, man, this is much deeper and bigger than we ever could imagine. And the interconnectedness of this entire universe is a real thing. And all of us really, truly are. When we say we're all one, that's not just some, like you said, some new age-ism. That's a real thing. I mean, that's actually being proven right now. And I'm really grateful that you stopped by, my man, and shared this, because what you're sharing is some fantastic stuff. Do you have any parting words for us that you'd like to share with the audience? Because I think people are really excited to hear from you on this.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as you were speaking about these worldly things, I like to give hope to those who think there's no hope in the famine parts of the world, etc. Because another part of this NASERA time, etc., is free energy.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be able to take, there's stuff on the market now. I just saw one in Europe, but nonetheless, the big picture here is we're going to be able to take salt water and desalinate it, free of charge, essentially. So the deserts in the world will be turned into lush farmlands.
Yep.
And you're like in Saudi Arabia, a big part of the terrorist thing is people are bored stiff. They need something to do. Teenagers want to be warriors. I don't know why, but that's the ego at work. They want to be warriors and go out there and do something. Well, now they're going to be able to, and this is Gordon speaking, they're going to be able to go out and take that energy and use it to farm and turn the world, all of these deserts, into lush farmland. That's just one example of how Mother Earth will be able to sustain billions of people in the short-term period. Yep. Eventually, we won't need food. So there's a lot more that can happen besides just distributing money to help the world. And it's pretty amazing and pretty incredible what we're going to be going through.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's something that's near and dear to my own heart, as I live here in Arizona, and that's part of my own personal journey. I do this website, and then I also am really actively involved in turning back desertification even here, and bringing lush, abundant trees, food forest technologies that exist now, and we growing our food right here where we're at. And it can be done anywhere. And then, like you said, with the technologies that are coming our way that already exist, that we're just waiting to be actually unleashed to the public, and you go a lot into free energy. I think the potential for humanity is almost beyond our event horizon right now, and yet it's coming. We're going to be able to see more and more coming soon. When these technologies get unleashed, we were going to just things that we can't even think of in this moment are going to take place, and it's going to be, like you say, oftentimes, like in your little intro to all your videos, is we're going to be living a heaven on earth, my man. And so I appreciate you for sharing that with us.
Yes, we'll be going through this NASERA period, and then after that's quote unquote done, there's going to be another transition. Mm-hmm. When we actually go to the fifth, and that's when we'll be able to create anything we want.
Ah, man.
So on that note, well, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted that my channel is successful. I'm delighted I can finally, I've been working on my life or wisdom seeking since I was 12 years old, actually. And I actually have notes called wisdom, a folder called wisdom on my computer. I've just thrown stuff in it over the years. I'm not sure if I've actually gone back and read it maybe once, but nonetheless, I'm delighted I have the chance to do what I love, and that is share this information and help sort things out for everyone in the world. What can make you feel better?
Oh, geez, man. Exactly. And so for those listening, check Tom out. Tom Price, his book, Getting Aligned for the Planetary Transformation Happening Now. Check out his website, theplanetdailynews.com, and then on YouTube, his channel, The Positive Side of 2012. It's some great stuff. So thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it, my man.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Clint.